Welcome back once again to another episode of TV Toastmasters. I'm your host, Erik Bergman, and besides being a member of TV Toastmasters and a producer here, I am also a member of We Toasted Toastmasters in Lake Oswego. And one thing about Toastmasters is we love to hear stories and tell stories. I have a special guest tonight, and he has a great new creative way to let people tell their stories and express themselves and talk about what their lives have meant to them and their experiences. My guest is Juan Coronel, and he will be talking about a new creative effort he's putting on. Welcome to our show, Juan. I'm so glad you're here.
Hey, I'm glad to be here. How's it going?
It's going really well, and you've been out doing a whole bunch of different things. You have a day job in regional sales for a company based in the Portland area.
Yes, sir.
And you are an entrepreneur from way back. You've got a new creative project we'd love to talk about, and it's called
We the People, an American Podshow.
We the People, an American Podshow. Very good. And it's to let people express themselves freely under your goal to promote freedom of speech.
Right.
Where did this idea come from? And what the heck is a pod show, too?
Right. So let's start there. What is a pod show? So my mind sees it like this. I see everybody doing these podcasts, and then I see a talk show. And so I was like, okay, podcast, kind of like radio play, talk show, we see that on TV.
Yeah.
So my mind said, this is a pod show. That's what this is. Innovative. That's what I'm shooting for.
So it has audio and video.
Yep,
People watch it or listen to it.
That's the hope. That's
Perfect.
What we're shooting for. So that you can just plug it into your headphones and hear what we're talking about, or you can get on your different platforms, and see, visually see what we're talking about and what we got going on. So,
where does your interest in freedom of speech come from? Was there something earlier in your life that sparked that? Why is it important to you now?
Yeah, freedom of speech is interesting. I've always been patriotic. Being a member of the armed forces at one point, I seen that freedom of speech is key to learning and growing and building communities and leadership concepts. Just being able to communicate properly and to also have a safe space to communicate. And so me seeing that, I was just like, let's have a platform where we can share our stories. And then also you see it happening right now. The pod show seems to be a trend, so to speak, and it makes sense.
Now, how do you come up with topics or people that you want to have on your show? Are you looking for someone with a special story,
right,
a special insight?
I don't know if it's exactly that, so it might be important to share where the idea came from. I think that will really kind of establish the groundwork here when we're talking about it. So the idea came from hearing, my mother was telling me a story about the Astoria Bridge and how she recalls before the Astoria Bridge was there and when they were building it and they were using a ferry to go across, and she was describing that to me. And then I'll hear Grandma tell a story about party lines and how that looks when it comes to communication and how there would be 3 houses on one line. And just hearing that made me go, I wonder if we can capture everyday people's lives, because that was a piece of history. They had a piece of history right there with them, and that piece of history could easily flee. As we all know, life is fleeing. And I wanted to capture that. I wanted to grab that because I believe that we all have a piece of history with us. And so when it comes to picking our guests, it's really organic, meaning that a lot of times I'll be communicating or I'll be talking to somebody and they'll be sharing a story and I'm like, whoa, this is a really cool story.
Yeah.
I'm guessing you share this story often, as we do, right? Maybe they're, parties or family holiday events or wherever. They're sharing this piece of history. And Yeah, so that's kind of where it came from, was to be able to grab that. And so that's really how we find the guests. And it's kind of started spiraling. You know, at first it was, hey, will you do this? And people were kind of like, what are you doing? You know, what's this about? Trust me, we're just going to have a good time. Come on, we'll just talk. You know, and then one person comes, they do it, then they start talking, and they tell their people. And then next thing you know, hey, you know who you should interview? They got this really great story about this. And that's really where it comes from.
Great. You're still in production on this, but people will be able to listen
Yeah.
or watch online, and we'll provide the URL so that people can find you online
Right.
before the end of the show.
It'll be online. We're going to do, of course, the public broadcast thing, because it's produced. And most of it's been produced out of Open Signal. However, we're looking at potentially producing some out of this location, which is, I don't remember the acronym. Do you have them all?
MCTV, MACCTV, TVCC, lots of TVs and CCs.
Right. A lot of, right. So
the Cable Access Studio in Beaverton.
Correct.
Right.
So we'll be on public broadcast as well. So then across all the different social media platforms, at least as many as we can get involved with, you know, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, TikTok, and of course YouTube. You'll be able to find it. So
great. It sounds like you've been busy on that. Like, can you share an example of a story or two that you've worked with and heard from your guests that might just give a sample of what you're aiming for, or the type of stories and the richness that you're uncovering in people's lives?
Right. Yeah, so we've had a really good spread of stories that have came on. You know, from, we had Ozzy Gonzalez on there, an individual who's running for mayor in 2020. We've had an individual on there, we actually had a group come on there that was Hip Hop and Friends. And they wrote these books that they can go out and engage with the schools and spread positive messages about being successfully driven and just being a driven individual, a motivated individual, and they share those stories. We've had, we've had a group came out from the coast that they're music artists, and so they came out here to produce some of their music in the big city. You know, they're from Lincoln City, and they came on and they shared and talked about his story of pursuing, you know, a music career. So that was really fun. And we've had an individual that was a Vietnam vet came on and he shared his story. And he also wrote a book about this. So it's been a pretty big spread of individuals.
Great. Well, I wish you good luck in finding more guests and bringing their stories to light. Now, you have some stories yourself from your younger days. You told me earlier that you were an entrepreneur from a very young age.
Right.
And you sold something very unusual in an unusual way to get a little spending money.
Yeah, right from birth.
Tell us how that went for you. What were you selling? Why were you out there?
Yeah, so I started looking at commerce at a young age, and I started seeing, okay, well, people are always going to tell me what to do, but if I can bring value, then they're going to start persuading. I can start persuading one way or the other. And what I started doing was I started mowing lawns. I started washing cars. You know, I started bringing value to the community. And then those adventures went underway, and I was like, okay, this is taking a lot of labor from myself. Yeah. And I was like, what else can we do? And there was an opportunity for me to buy a box of little erasers. I don't know if you recall these. They were like, you know, turtles and all different sorts of shapes. And these erasers were. And so me and a buddy went door to door, and, you know, and he was recruited, you know, to help. And we went door to door selling erasers for 25 cents. And this was really a self-adventure, and that was so that we could get more candy. And, you know, that's kind of always been the spirit since a young age. Like I said, I feel like I was born with it. So, and I do it today. You know, in my career now, I do sales as well. So, and I enjoy it. It's really about, like I said, bringing value to the community. So.
I don't imagine you're still selling little turtle erasers, though, to kids who might be your neighbors. You work
Right.
in the construction materials industry, correct? Tell us
Correct.
about the company you work for and briefly what it does and,
Right.
and what are you selling out there when you
for
go
sure.
visit clients?
So the company that I am with is Materials Testing and Inspections, an Atlas company. And we provide quality assurance and quality control for the owners when it comes to construction. So if you have an investor or even a development company, somebody that's going to be building a building, we provide that quality assurance for them. And so we test the materials to ensure that all the materials that are going on the site are up to specs or specifications, and are up to code within that area. You know, when it comes to the authority having jurisdiction over that area, we make sure that that service is being provided properly. So that way these buildings are safe for the community. And as we say, give me 1 second here. I got a prop coming out of my pocket. Our slogan, assuring the strength, safety, and security of our community.
All right. We're going to take a short break now, and I'll be back with my guest, Juan Coronel, and he's going to talk more about his pod show, We the People, an American Podshow.
Hi, I'm Phyllis Harmon. I'm a member of TV Toastmasters. In this club, we have an opportunity to practice speaking before the camera as well as running the equipment room. If you're interested in being interviewed on TV Toastmasters or becoming a member, please go to toastmasters.org and look for us, or simply search for TV Toastmasters on the web.
And welcome back to TV Toastmasters. An American Pod Show. My guest is Juan Coronel, and let's get back to talking with him. Juan, you came up with the idea of a pod show, audio and video, to let people tell their stories about their everyday lives and the experiences they've had as part of your interest in freedom of speech. Now imagine, as you've thought about being a host of a show yourself, that you put some effort and time into training yourself in communicating and speaking. And you did that through Toastmasters, I understand.
Yes, sir.
Can you talk about the clubs you're in and what you gained from the Toastmasters experience?
Right. So I'm in three clubs. I'm in Story Masters, Speaking for Professionals, and Feedbackers. And those are strategically chosen clubs on purpose. So I chose Story Masters because the art of storytelling is incredibly significant in regards to selling any sort of a product or doing anything as far as persuading or being part of a group. It's when you can tell a story, it helps communicate. People can relate to you, they can connect with you through stories, and there's also a book I'm currently reading called Tribe, and it talks about how with stories we get a shared emotion together, which then allows us to eventually form our own tribes. And it gets way more detailed and way more technical than that, but that's kind of a summary from my perspective of what I see. So I chose that to get that lesson, to understand how to tell a great story.
And Story Masters is a Toastmasters club that meets locally here in the Portland area that specializes in analyzing stories, what makes a good story, the parts that make it work.
Yep.
And then you get practice and practice and practice at refining the stories that you want to tell.
Yes, sir. That's exactly
Great.
what it does.
Now that's only the first of 3 clubs you're in.
Yeah. Speaking for Professionals is more focused on presentations, being maybe in the boardroom, communicating professionally, and coming across really clean, crisp, so that way you can communicate what's going on. Because as we know, when it comes to business or any sort of a profession, it's incredibly important. Also, what you'll find there is individuals that do public speaking for a living. And so it gives you that opportunity to, and I imagine you'd find that across a lot of other boards, but that specific one, it gives you that place to kind of hone that craft, not kind of, but hone that craft of public speaking in a professional manner. And so it really brought me value in regards to that. And it's a really great club that I enjoy for that reason. And then the other one that I'm part of is Feedbackers. And Feedbackers, I see that as not only being able to give other Toastmaster members feedback when they give a speech, so that way you can actually bring value to your other members that are around you, is I also see it as a skill that you can hone to help you in your profession or help you in your everyday life. You know, maybe there's something that's going on and you want to give feedback on that situation. Feedbackers has kind of taught me how to, or it made me more aware of how to give good feedback and valuable feedback that somebody can actually take something with them, whether it be in operations or whether it be when I'm talking about a project or whatever's going on. And so it's really helped me out there.
How do you define high quality feedback? What characterizes that?
Right. To me, that would be, first, I would say there's a couple parts to that. One being as it's comprehended, meaning as you've used the language that allows the individual to absorb the feedback and actually apply it later. So that way they can take note on it or however they choose to take it, but understanding that you want to comprehend on their level and give them some sort of a nugget that can help their speech become better and tighter and more, more honed. So I would say it comes down to that, on, at least from my perspective, but also giving it in a structured manner so that way they can see that you have a system and they can kind of follow that and see as well. So I would say that is defining it to me.
Great. And Feedbackers, again, like some of your other clubs, has a specialty focus on that evaluation portion.
Right.
And indeed, if you have people who report to you, as a manager, you're going to need to give feedback to help these younger or different people in different roles learn their work and learn what they need to do to help them advance as you learn to advance yourself. So great. 3 different Toastmasters clubs, and I mean, these are just examples, only 3 of hundreds of Toastmasters clubs that our guests here on the show might be a part of. So there's such a wealth of information there to help you.
Right.
And how have you thought consciously yet about how your Toastmasters training has helped you as the host of We the People?
Yeah, I think it's not only helped as me as a host, it's also helped right here, right now, in this interview. Yeah. One of the lingos that you brought up early on was, imagine it like it's a table topics. Table topic answers. And those of you that don't know, table topics is a 2-minute speech. It's impromptu. You come up, anybody in the club can get chosen. Some people choose, some people pick. It just depends. You have to come and experience the Toastmasters to understand that. But what will happen is you get an impromptu moment to get up there and speak for about roughly 2 minutes. And that has helped tremendously, especially when it comes to interviewing or talking to somebody.
Right, you're learning to speak on your feet with very little preparation, with the goal, ideally, in most circumstances, to have a beginning, middle, and end of your speech so that it progresses naturally, it ties together, and the audience is left thinking, Ah, that was great. That was interesting. That was fun. Or serious, whether serious or humorous, you've shared something in a short time and you weren't stressing over it. You've practiced it. That's what I love about Toastmasters so much is it's rehearsing. We all say in our clubs, we're rehearsing so you can take it out into the real world.
That's right.
Whether your job involves sales and you need to convince people, whether you're interviewing someone on your show, trying to draw out more of the richness of their story that to share. You also have a bent for community service, and you mentioned something that struck me. You were going into the schools to help younger kids learn science, technology, engineering, and math, the STEM project.
Right.
What have you been doing, and how's that gone for you?
Yeah, so it's actually, so the Associated General Contractors has sponsored for us to go in to do that with a company that's called In For All, and which is a nonprofit that focuses on getting professional members from I guess it could be any line that uses the STEM into the schools, engaging with the 4th and 5th grade. And from my understanding, there's been a study around that those are the ages when they can be influenced the most. And they actually can absorb that information. So currently what's going on is we've gone through the training, getting ready for this new year, coming into 2020, where there will be 4 to 5 times that we'll go to the school and we'll actually get to teach the kids in regards to some of the projects. And one of the cool ones that's going on right now is like a marble. The kids get 6 pieces of paper. They get to find out how they angle it, and it goes down on a yoga mat. And there's lines on there, and they have to land the marble in a specific area. And what it's teaching them is that when that slope changes, it changes the trajectory of the marble, which seems basic, but it breaks it down into a little bit of a science. That way they understand the importance.
Right. Then it's geometry.
Right.
There's a math element in it too. That's so great. We have about a minute left. What are your final thoughts on your new We the People pod show, or anything else we've talked about? How would you like to wrap up today?
Yeah, my final thoughts is exercise your freedom of speech. Get out there. Let's go. Stay motivated. America's doing great stuff. Let's keep doing great stuff. Let's stay active, and let's keep bringing value to our community. And yeah, just be consciously aware of what's going on in the ways of inclusion, diversity, on and on and on. Work ethic, motivation, mental health. What else I got floating on my bracelets here? Just stay consciously aware of all that, and be aware that our country is what we make of it.
Juan, I appreciate your words. That's been another episode of TV Toastmasters. I hope you'll join us again another time, because you never know who we're going to have on as a guest. Today my guest was Juan Coronel. Thank you so much, Juan, and we'll see you again on TV Toastmasters.
Welcome to an opportunity to take the next step of your professional speaking journey. I want you to be honest with yourself. Have you ever wished you were a star in a television show, or at an event where the media is interviewing bystanders and you are wanting to be picked to give your opinion of the event? Or even in the smallest sense, you're at a sports game and secretly hope that your smiling face would appear on that big jumbo screen TV, but the jumbo screen always finds the fans with the painted faces. And you think to yourself, maybe next time. Well, what if I can offer you a chance to be on TV? Would you take it? That is what I want to offer you now. I'm Dottie Love, Associate TV Producer and Director. Toastmasters International is one of the largest organizations whose mission is to help improve your speaking skills. And District 7 is expanding your opportunities to do speaking via television. We have 4 fully equipped television studios and TV Toastmaster broadcasts to over 500,000 homes, plus a YouTube channel. Who knew? We want to invite you to take advantage of using media and television, either in front or behind the scenes. Let me share a few options that you have. First, you can be a guest on a show. Highlight your business or hobby or your community interest. Anything you're passionate about. Be a featured guest. Secondly, you can train to be a host on an ongoing TV segment. We will train you for that. Third, what about creating your own talk show? We will train you for that as well and give you access to a community media studio to do just that. Or lastly, be behind the scenes, either running a camera or editing shows. You decide which avenue is best for you, and our TV Toastmasters team will help you to navigate to get the most out of your media experience. Personally, I've done them all. I started as a guest, went to hosting, up to directing my own TV show. I don't tell you this to impress you. I tell you this to impress upon you that your personal growth with Toastmasters is directly related to what you take advantage of. And I encourage you to be bold in looking for opportunities to stretch and grow. If this intrigues you, or if you have club members who you think that might be interested in this, please contact us here at TV Toastmasters. I'm Dottie Love, and you can reach me or any of us in the TV Toastmasters family at the contact information at the bottom of the screen. You can also find us on the web. Our website is 7512.toastmastersclub.org.